guys, welcome to Beers and Bonsais. For this week, it is really cold. We dropped to the teens where I live. I think it's currently 20 degrees maybe outside, and we are getting through it. I haven't really checked on the plants in the greenhouse because they are in dormancy and it is a little too cold to mess around with them. I also don't want to let the cold air in. I do open up the greenhouse if it gets too hot. If it's really sunny, I think the greenhouse does get up to like 70 degrees. So if it gets that hot, I might open up the greenhouse, check on plants, see how they're doing. I did check on them last week and they were doing pretty well. I might have lost one tree, unfortunately, but we'll see how that goes in the spring and see if it comes back. For this week, we will be doing an air layering on a ficus. This ficus is really important to me. It's mine, but it's really the first bonsai I've ever worked on with my daughter. So hopefully I can give it to her one day and she can take care of it. I've had this one for 3 years now, and it has a lot of good structure. There's a nice curve here. I did have this branch as a sacrificial branch at some point, but I think I want to keep it, see how it goes, because for today's air layering, I think eventually we'll air layer up here. I know it's really hard to see, but we'll air layer up here, and then make this branch here the primary branch, and then make another ficus from the top part, just because it's becoming a little bit too much. I did cut it back a bit, and as you know, ficus, they just keep growing and growing and growing. It's one of the best indoor plants. And when I say indoor plants during the winter. In the summer, this stays outside. I give it as much sun as possible. It does tolerate heat very well. You can probably find other videos with people talking about ficus and how they train them and grow them. Let's get into it. So for today's beer, we are going to do a small beer, 12 ounce beer from Atlas Beer Works. It's called Bonsai. It's an IPA. It's from Washington, D.C. The writing on the side of this is pretty interesting. Science of Bonsai Indian Pale Ale is paired with Indian curry, carne asada, and salted caramel. So I'm assuming that it's like a nice, even balanced beer. I've never had it before. It's a 7.3% beer, 52 IBUs, and it is really interesting. I think the can's really interesting. Oh, it's a solar powered beer. Sustainable. Awesome. So I'll crack this open and then we can get into what I have for the air layering. Let me just take a sip of this. Cheers, that's really good. So for the air layering, very simple. You need rooting powder. I use this rooting powder. So I can put a link in the description if anyone wants to utilize this. I've had success with maples on this, Japanese maples. And we'll see how it works on the ficus. A sharp knife. You can use plastic. I like to use these just because I feel like they hold moisture a little bit better than a plastic bag. It's almost like using a pot, I would say. The plastic, I feel like it gets a little too hot and humid, which might cause issues you might get like fungus or bacteria or something. I haven't had any success air layering with plastic bags, but these things work really well. You also need a paintbrush, and I'll show you why. Sphagnum moss. You can use other substrates. I use the sphagnum moss because it's the Peter Chan trick, and it works fairly well for me. And I think the nice thing about using the sphagnum moss is once you do cut your air layering, the sphagnum moss that you have within the ball, you plant it just in regular substrates of your choice. I would say you can use like potted mix for moss. I don't know what it is about moss, but the trees love it, and it helps to develop roots. So again, you can use anything, but this is the best when you do cut and transplant it to a pot. Obviously, bonsai tools. I'm only going to use maybe some bonsai tools just because we don't need much. I think the only thing I do need is probably, it's one of my favorite tools, a branch cutter. And it's just because I think I have one branch in there that I do need to cut just so the air layering has space. So first things first, let's cut that one branch that was in my way. Just like that. And I would say you can take clippings and plant them fairly easily. As you're doing this as well, I would say just dip this in a little bit of water, and then right in the rooting powder, put it into some type of potting mix, let it grow. I do have a air layering, actually no, it's just a cutting that I've taken from this tree that is growing not too far from me. I'm pointing at it. I know you guys can't see it, but it is growing fairly well. So we'll see how that grows. I think I'll show you guys afterwards or take a picture of it. And you know, you can have maybe thousands of these things because again, they just keep growing and growing as long as you have the space. And yes, this does have a lot of moss, and I do have some weeds on here. I love the clovers on this tree. One, they close at night, so it's kind of cool, and open during the day. They also allow me to know how much water is needed for this tree. So I do maintain the clovers on here. I do pull them when need be, but they actually are really good indicators of when I need to water this plant. Because you can, I think I've seen people water once a week, and it works for them. So let's get into it. I think for this, I just want to measure where this can go on here. And again, I might need to cut one more branch. Yep, I need to cut one more branch. There's that. See? Got another little tree from that. Right. And from this point, I will measure one more time. And that is perfect. As you can see, that is ideal in terms of where I want to grow, and then cut off eventually, because I will cut right at this line. And the other portion will be up here. And I think actually when you have an air layering, I'm going to get into it, an air layering, you are going to have more success if you cut at a node, which is what I'm doing. Right where I cut that branch is where I'm making my cut. And It's easier to do this on a spinning tray. You need one of these. I found this one on Amazon. It's really good. But you put heavy pots on this thing and it will still spin. And then I will actually get the camera closer so you can see exactly how I am doing this. Because I feel like other videos they don't do this. So let's bring it in. Alright, let's get in there. Be careful with the knife, because it can cut you. And as I said, you need a sharp knife for this. When you do this, make sure you're not cutting all the way into the tree. You want to literally cut into the white part of this. Is what you are basically doing is telling the tree, like, this piece of the tree is no longer going to function as it should, and the tree responds by growing roots to survive. But you do still need it to deliver water to the other portion. Some people, they do bridges. There's like a bridge technique where you leave some of this. I don't do that technique. I literally follow Peter Chain trick by layering, because I've had the most success doing that. So credits to Peter Chang and his team. And I don't think there's many videos of people doing air layerings on ficus, just because they're so easy to grow. Fine. But again, this one is sentimental to me. I don't want to just cut off the top and call it a day, because just like Peter Chang, I'm pretty frugal. You can be frugal too. No one says you have to drop millions of dollars on trees. And I kind of did butcher it a little bit. It's not too bad. But that's exactly what we want to do though. See, as you can see there. Okay. Next step is fairly simple. Now, I think that's basically the hardest part, is cutting the wood appropriately. Make sure you take your time doing this as well. I feel like people do rush. Whenever I rushed doing this, it always backfired on me. And you just need to take your time. Slow and steady wins the race. So what I'm doing right now is I'm literally just wetting my brush with water that is within the sphagnum moss, and I won't dip my brush into the rooting powder, just because, again, you do not want to put moisture in there. I'm all about keeping things clean and sanitizing things, just because you could grow some bacteria by cross-contaminating or adding moisture to things. So I would advise just putting your hormone in a different little cup or what have you. And when you apply powder, you want to apply it to this top part because this is where the roots will come out. This bottom part, or where it is cut, isn't meant for rooting. It's literally, again, like I said, just so the water that is being pulled in from the roots does go up to the tree. So I do apply a lot of rooting hormone up here. I actually can throw some into the sphagnum moss as well, just in case. And I think I probably used maybe a teaspoon to maybe a tablespoon worth of this stuff. So a lot goes a long way. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but this is what I'm trying to do is give it enough so it is almost like a paste. Almost like when you brush your teeth, you know, like right at the end of brushing your teeth, you might still have a little bit of toothpaste. And it's mixed with water, but you still can see the toothpaste in there. That's the consistency that you want. Closing this up, taking a sip. Cheers if you fast forwarded. No harm, no foul. Alright, next step is putting the sphagnum moss into the bowl. Again, some people might say this is difficult. Just take your time. You're not rushing for anything. The point of bonsai is to relax. Take your time, just like it takes its time to grow. And you will succeed. So, I'm going to back up the camera a little bit. There you go. So, at this point, I think I might have enough sphagnum moss. I like to put a lot so it's the right amount for the tree to grow some roots. If you do not fill these balls or fill your plastic bag enough, you will fail. I think you need enough for it to understand that there is space to grow from. And I will show you, the nice thing about this as well is I can show you how to put this on. Let's move this over there. So I literally just put it on like that. Oh, what I'll do is a little bit of powder, just in case. Should be a term for what I just did. See that? It's like spreading the parm. Spreading the parm. I'm not Italian, by the way, but there are a lot of Italians near where I live. American Italians. So that's practically it. This did come with zip ties. I just use some wiring, leftover wire that I have. If you're not using it for your trees, there's other reasons to use it. So recycle. All about sustainability, as I had said. We gotta save the world together somehow, right? Just that. I'm just doing this with just my own hands. You know, for larger trees, or when you do have a plastic bag, it's harder to do it as well. But as you can see, this is nice because it basically is folded already. There is you just fold it over itself, and if I had zip ties, I would have been done with this already. You just pull it right through, put it through the hole, pull it tight, and that's it. This, you basically do it the same way as you were tighten your tree somehow. And doesn't matter which way you turn it, as long as it's nice and tight. And that's practically it. So we did it. Done. At this point, just want to say thanks. Thank you for joining me in my basement. I don't think the bear has a name. That's my daughter if it has a name. She or he, the bear. He's been in a few videos now. So, my drinking partner and bonsai enthusiast. So, thank you guys for joining Beers and Bonsais. I'm going to finish this. And have a good day.